Okay, so we're going to go through two leagues here. One is my most recent trophy, and then we'll move into a 4-1 from today. So the 5-0 is from like a couple days ago, and then the 4-1 is from this morning. So we're on the play against Urban Pope. I don't remember what this matchup was, but very obviously this is a real good hand. So on the play, basically we're going to take our, it's something like 60% that you're going to have a no force hand against a force deck. And then there's obviously some portion of non-force decks. So if you have it, even without daze or force backup, I'm going to jam here. There's literally, I mean, I don't know what I'm up against, but in the blind, I'm going to do it. And then we just kind of go through it. I think I whiff here. Have to swing. Really, we just need a lotus petal. So I'm just going to hit play. Yeah, so I play out the lotus petal, lotus petal. He sees that. He scoops. I mean, obviously we were going to get there with children, but I appreciate the opponent scooping there. Game 2. Before we get going, let's take a look at the sideboard. So I went full in the unknown. I did everything except for the echoing truths. Let's see here. So I multed this hand, I think, is where I end up. Obviously, it's pretty solid. We got a turn 1. Turn 1 Doomsday, not a turn 1 win. He goes down to 6, plus a ley line, so he's down to 5. So we're already up 2 cards on him being on the draw. Oh, yeah, this is the Maverick build. So that's not a great start there. And as much as I just want to collect the Brutality's only land, we're just going to go for it here. So even though it's a Wasteland deck, I wish I could go back. I did do a Shelldock pile. The reason for that being, if he spends his next turn Wastelanding us, okay, sure. It's not a big deal, and it makes our pile net size of 3. And it can play through a Wasteland on our primary land. But he just does nothing and scoops. I don't know what happened there, but we take those. Match number 2. We are on the draw. Pretty much any Entomb hand I'm generally inclined to keep. We don't ship that, especially the Dark Writ. So we have we're live to a Gristlebrand or any of our reanimated effects. So we're live to 8 draws, plus we got 2 cantrips. And we always like seeing forest. Exploration. Okay, so this is lands. And they don't have crop rotation up here. So let's see. So this is a spot where I don't remember how I played this. I may have... Okay, yeah. We kept the island. We bought them both because we don't need a black source. That Cabal Therapy is probably not going to do much for us. Okay, so here we just have everything we need. And the only thing we need to play around at this point, obviously, is crop rotation. So because of the situation that we have here, we just double Dark Writ. Cabal Therapy them. They don't have a crop route, and we do our thing. It did leave us exposed to a draw off this, but it's 4 copies. I don't think we could have played around that. It was on board, but it was an onboard trick that the only thing we could do is keep looking for a counterspell, and it's not something I'm inclined to do. And we just go to town here. Like, this is not a complicated loop. So, game 2. We'll just hit play for a minute, and we'll look at our hand. So we have a quick Doomsday here. Collective Brutality doesn't do much for us. Okay. That makes some sense that it bit that. If I remember correctly, he mulled pretty low. Yeah, he mulls to 5 on this. And I think he just had nothing? I can't remember. So this was really nice, so we can cantrip without fear of losing our land. Although I played out the Underground Sea. Oh, because I needed 3 black potentially on my next turn. That makes some sense. I did keep one of those in case we get wastelanded and we need to go for natural. Let's see here. Does he go Sphere this turn? I can't remember. So he does wasteland me, I think. Yeah. So, very obviously, we're going to jam here. There's literally no reason not to. What do I do for a pile here? So basic's always nice. This is for Red Blast. So a very slow pile, basically. We have a fetch for the Underground Sea, Preordained Island. This gets around the Pyroblast. We're not shooting to win instantaneously. This is the play around Sphere coming down a little bit later. Don't care about that. Ghost Quarter is relevant, but we have an island in here. And because of this situation with the counter backup and he has nothing going on, there's no reason not to just go ahead and end the game on the spot. So we're 2-0. If this is the DNT matchup, which I think it is, game 1 is actually ridiculous. So we get a pretty decent starting hand. And I thought C's here. Obviously take Thalia. So the way this game plays out is he actually, I think he dumps the Caracas, right? No, maybe not. But we end up fizzling on a Gristlebrand as this game goes on. And we end up burning 2 Gristlebrands really hardcore. This is what burns us. He does play it, but if I remember correctly, we still aren't able to get up and running next turn. I could be wrong. So yeah, we remove the clock, but now he knows about Gristlebrand, which is probably actually a misplay thinking about it now, because we wanted to give him the opportunity to tap this down. So we jam here. So this is an interesting spot. We shallow grave in responses because we know he has a Phyrexian Revoker. Because if he Revokers in response to the pedal, he's going to name Gristlebrand most likely. Granted, he couldn't name Petal, but that only buys him 1 turn, literally. So the idea here in this scenario is before this Revoker comes in, we want to draw. He's obviously at Caracas up, so we're going to draw 7. And then we're going to draw 7 more. And we kind of fizzle here. Like, we do have stuff, but what he does with the Revoker is he obviously names Lotus Petal because the Gristlebrand's back in my hand. And this goes on for a while. Like, we go back and forth. Basically, my line here was to figure out how to get the Emrakul through it all, or get 2 fatties reanimated simultaneously so that I could push both through, but I just can't get there. So I reanimate children, get a bunch of life, but I just have no action through this Caracas and Lotus Petal being named. And like I said, we do this for a while. He actually manages. I do not manage to get another Gristlebrand into play at some point. But he swords it, I think, before I'm able to deal with anything. So we take his sword, and we just play back and forth. But he ultimately closes this game out, which is real unfortunate for me. But it's okay. So this is where, like, we have a lot of draws off this, but we don't have a lot going on. So let's pause here for a second. So I have no way to get Children of Corliss into play without discarding myself, which is fine. But I think what he does is he swords in response to me doing something here. I don't know, but I do have force. I don't know why I lost this game, honestly. I may have screwed something up. So he brings something in response. Must be Skyclave. Oh, this is where he hits. Yeah, this is actually a really good play on his part. So he hits the LED with Skyclave. And I cannot respond and discard my hand because otherwise I lose everything I've got going on. So what I do is I bring this back. He bounces. I'm at 2 life. Okay, so the thing is I don't have a Cabal Therapy available. So I have no way to get that Gristlebrand back in to swing. I go up to 23 here. And let's see here. And I have no mana available. I don't have any rituals or anything. I've just got the Chrome Mox. If I had 1 more mana, I would have been able to do it here. Entomb and then get Gristlebrand or Emrakul going, which still would have... No, I have enough life, yeah. So it's just that I end up this naming Lotus Petal paired with what I ended up with was enough where I just didn't have the mana to get something back into play. If I had a single another ritual, we would have been good. Basically anything. And then I eventually scoop here. I think I do put a blue source under there if I'm remembering correct now. And I like waffle on this for a while. Oh, you know what? Okay, yeah, I just gain a bunch more life to stall, but I still have not much going on, and this Caracas just makes it impossible. We'll just hit play for the rest of this game. It ends pretty quick from here. And part of it is I eventually scoop just in the name of time, just because I have no real way to continue closing this game out relatively reasonably. Oh, and then when he hits this, I just scoop. Yeah. Because I don't really have a way through that. Let's see here. Oh, so back to that match. Game 2. we'll just, so I'm on the play, obviously. And we mulligan pretty aggressively, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so we keep this. If I remember correctly, I lead on the Thoughtseize, but I could be wrong here. Yeah. Take Thalia. And we're going to hit play for a minute. So that's exactly what I was looking for. Because we just want to get this done. Let's see what pile I build. I think the idea here behind this one was that I would be able to cycle into days if necessary, shell dock the following turn, have an extra blue source, and then cavern with Oracle should things really go awry. If I had another island, it probably would have been an island instead of a cavern here. But the idea was I have already used the land drop. I want to have days available next turn, because any of these are relevant, especially this one. Weirdly enough, this is relevant because it's a 3-1, not so much because of the card draw. So we do our thing here. I'll hit play for the rest. I think he's able to port me. Yep, which is fine. We play that out. There's really not a lot he could do here. And the cool thing is, oh, I just let it go because I'm empty. He tapped himself out. There's no reason to, but you could activate that in instant speed. So I could have done that in response to the port. Game 3. On the draw. I keep this, but the one thing that I'm aware of is that this is soft to deafening silence. Very soft to deafening silence, but it has a way to find the piece I need. So we want the force for Thalia here. So I'm going to hit play for a minute. And then he does nothing, which is awesome. So I go ahead and brainstorm here, because I do have the fetch. We're just struggling to find a Doomsday here. We do have this guy, which is real handy. So we're just paying life, trying to find one. There we go. And with this hand, it's pretty set up to do what we need to do. So let's see here. So the petals, let's see, what was I thinking with this? I think one of this is I set it up so that I could draw a petal, predict edge if necessary, draw petal, preordain. Let's see what order I do this in. The idea being predict gets me through the pile pretty quickly if necessary. Otherwise, I've got petals back up for mana sources should I get taxed. One of those petals probably should have been an island. And the idea here is it's supposed to be resilient to surgical as well. Containment Priest doesn't slow it, doesn't go fast enough here that I care. But you notice a lot of people are still, even if they've seen Doomsday Game 2, they keep a lot of the not great stuff. So we'll hit play. He got Sword of Fire, nice. He's coming in for 3. We brainstorm off of that. Let's see here. Oh, so, and then I'm able to just get down to my pile. So, because of that choice, I can just play these, cast this with force backup. So, even if there's a mind break trap or something like that coming. And we're done here. Let me get into this match, which is Snow Cow. Let's a match play for a minute until I... So this hand's pretty reasonable. If I remember game one, it actually doesn't pan out. I think we end up just not able to do anything. Which is unfortunate because game one tends to be pretty favored against Snoko. And I think I lead on, okay, Ponder. And what I might do here, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but sometimes I will upkeep Entomb in order to shuffle away the other two. I'm not sure that that actually took place here. Because I think there was one more cantrip there. Yeah, there was. So we're flooded on Entombs. And this might be a spot where I end of turn Entomb. I don't remember, to be honest with you. The thing is, he's not doing much except for that. I probably should have entombed in response. I think I was trying to keep things concealed, honestly. But yeah, things are getting pretty dire here. I think what I'm playing towards is being able to lead on Thoughtseize. I guess not. I guess I just go ahead and Thoughtseize aggressively. Seeing nothing really relevant though. But he had double Brainstorm. But then he gets into this game of Teferi bouncing and their value engine's online. I wasn't able to get underneath it because I couldn't find a reanimate spell. And we just kinda die here. And eventually I just scoop in the name of time. Yeah, right here. Like, there's no coming back from this. It was probably premature, but I also care about my sanity and my time. So I'm like, fuck this. Let's get going. Move to game 2. So this is obviously the nuts. There's no debates about it. I do force back here. Figuring if he has double force, I'll accept the lose. And we build a Shelldock pile. Like, it's a Shelldock pile that does what it needs to do. Like, I don't need to play this one out. There's nothing interesting that happens in this game. Literally, we draw Shelldock. We have a fetch to thin. We have the cavern back. And it's just like... Okay. That, I think, was a misclick. I have no idea why that happened. Or the magic replay is all fucked up. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think the magic replay is messed up because he wouldn't scoop to an island played off of that. That's weird. The only thing that makes sense is the replay's foobar. Because he would scoop to this, but not this. I'm very confused. And around 100% sure that the replay's messed up. Sorry about the screaming kids. So let's see where we end up game 3. I keep this hand because it's got double force and a brainstorm, and we're on the draw. So that's really good here. And I think the thought was just double force should be enough. Like, I could have played with Flusterstorm. Daze I didn't expect out of this deck, by the way. You don't typically see Daze in, like, the Snowco lists. But it's a Sheltdock pile again. It's just like, it's so solid against these particular builds. They can't really interact with it. I do think he surgicaled me here. I could be misremembering which match that was. I think he fucked up my ordering. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I guess not. I guess this one just became pretty trivial. And the replay got it correct this time. So Teferi is the one thing we're soft to here. And by soft, I mean we wait an extra turn to win. It disables the Emrakul cast, but we obviously didn't see a Teferi, and that's fine. And he scoops here. So it was game 3, and then we queue into Negator. Game 1 is kind of a freebie, because if you look at our opener, we just have the Stone Cold Nuts. And against a non-Force of Will deck when we're on the play, and we know we're against a non-Force of Will deck, even though it's against a Force of Will deck, this is still like the Stone Cold Nuts. But even so, we just go, let's just win. And this just ends so quickly. I do think we end up getting into some loops here briefly, but it becomes pretty trivial. And he scoops to that. Game 2. So first off, before we start, I want to show the sideboarding. I actually have been playing around with this variation where I cut all my dazes, all my forces, all my discard, and basically run a full hybridized package. The idea being the only card that we would generally want to counter is, like, yeah, Sylvan's Scrying, there's an argument for it. Vampire Hexmage, sure, there's an argument for it. But for the most part in this matchup, we want threat density. I don't know that this sideboard plan is perfect, but it's something that I've had a lot of success with. Because you'll see what happens here is we have a pretty solid starting hand. Maybe not solid. It's got a brainstorm in it. And rituals. But he leads on the play and discards our brainstorm here. And what we do is we play out 2 pieces. This was an interesting win here because his next turn, he plays out the Petal, a land. He plays around Daze, so props to him here. And then casts Vampire Hexmage. So we are dead next turn. We have to win literally right here on the spot. So the way this works out is end of turn we vault. And we need to find a Doomsday. And there we go. So all we need is a Doomsday. We don't need anything else out of this. We don't need to find like a brainstorm with the Doomsday or anything like that. So the way we sequence this, I can't remember the exact pile off the top of my head. I know there's an underground sea at the bottom, so we can fetch it with this. So let's just watch how I do this. I do think it's an LED pile. Okay, so what I do, yeah, so I put the underground sea at the bottom. I cycle into brainstorm first, then I fetch, and then I can put these back in whatever order I need. I end this game with 1 in library. So we put brainstorm on top and underground sea on the bottom. Everything else doesn't matter. I think the replay's wrong again, because you'll see I cycle here. I still think the replay's wrong. Yeah, see, like, that was... What is happening with these replays? Magic on, like... Oh, yeah, now it's bugging out. Alright, well, I can't show you the end result, but what we would have done here is fetch for the underground sea after this. This is not an LED. We would have brainstormed into Edge of Autumn LED, and Oracle. We'd put back Oracle on top with the Writ on bottom. Then we'd cycle through the LED with 1 floating, and we would have 1 card in library left. I don't know what's going on with MODO, so I'm going to call it at this league because this is the second time on the replay that it's been totally foobar and just gotten it wrong. But you can see the general concept of the pile and the sideboarding.